come here today to talk about sustainable meetings, the value of meetings, and how I think sustainable meetings make smart business. People often ask me why, how did I get started in this? And I didn't realize it until I got asked that question, that I was raised that way. We were talking about culture at our table, and my father went overseas when I was very young, and he helped communities raise pigs and chickens in a sustainable way. Now, they didn't have those terms back then, but they didn't use antibiotics, they didn't use hormones, they were free range. Again, none of these terms were used in those days, and we were taught to always leave a place better than you found it. First, about what's happening in the industry. What are some of the things as it relates to sustainability that you might not, or you might be aware of, and some of the extent of those. Then they measured the impact of conferences. And this is what I would call a brown conference. This is a conference that was planned with no sustainable practices. And they factored that over a 3-day conference, each person that attended the conference generated 61 pounds of waste, of solid waste. The statistic up there is water usage. Again, this is a 3-day conference. Each person uses 800 and some odd gallons of water. We don't use that kind of water at home either. Understanding the impact. And our carbon emissions for, again, the same single person over 3 days is enough to run the family car for a year. Each of us sitting in the room has that kind of impact when we're at a conference for 3 days. If we make no other types of sustainable decisions, you add that up with all of the meetings and conventions and conferences that go around the world every day. That's a huge impact. Sustainable meetings for our company means that you're incorporating sort of the people, planet, profit concepts, that you're balancing those decisions from the very beginning when you're designing your meeting all the way through the execution and the reporting at the back end of your meeting. My business partner and I have been doing this and speaking about this for 11 years. In the early years, most people thought that it cost more money to have sustainable meetings. The reality is that it doesn't. Does that mean that nothing costs more? No. But again, if you're looking at an overall budget like you do for any event that you do or any project that you take on, and you look at where you can save and where it costs, overall, you should be spending less if you're doing a sustainable meeting. Start with a destination. The destination is the key, because that makes it easier for you. Does it have a convention center if you're doing a citywide that also has the hotels within walking distance? Does it have public transportation from the airport to your meeting facility? And if it doesn't, what kind of transportation, sustainable transportation, are you able to provide, or do they provide for your attendees? Find out what the infrastructure is. For example, there are some cities, large cities in the US, that don't have commercial recycling. So even if you wanted to recycle at your event, they couldn't do it because they don't have the capacity. It's not provided as part of the service. And we have a client, IMAX America does a very creative thing to collect their name badges, because that's what people say to me, well, how do you collect these? Because it's great that I want them, but I can't usually get them back. They got a sponsor, and when people left, you had 2 bins you could put your name badges in. And you got to pick which charity. So for each name badge that was collected for charity A and charity B, money would get donated to that charity. So it really gave people an incentive to give their badges back and save the organization money. If you're not sure about what to ask for sustainable practices, ask if they have any type of certification. Make sure your chefs are part of the conversation. Don't necessarily rely on the service person. Make sure the chef's at the table. Get it in writing. If you've put this information hopefully in your request for proposal, and a facility says we're going to do A, B, C, D for you, make sure you have that in your contracts and you have it in writing. That way everybody's very clear about it and your expectations are more likely to be met. Starwood's taking on this in a big way. They have a sustainable meetings program now that they're looking to implement in most of their Starwood properties. So that's a great movement forward, and it also includes reporting, which is rare. Some of the hotels today are practicing sustainable practices or behavior and implementing them. But it's difficult to understand the impact of your meeting because you don't have a report at the end. But Starwood is one of 2 of the hotels I know of that's offering that to planners at the end of their events. Nobody has this down. So if anyone says to you, oh, I've got sustainability, you know, I've got it, I've mastered it, I'm good to go, that was yesterday and I'm on to something else, I would look again, because this is something that's a journey. We learn new things every day, new information comes out every day, new products come out every day. This is something that we need to be continuing to share and to talk about as a community, both from the planner and the supplier side.